Good morning to you all. It's Mariam Zian and you're watching Al24 News Weekly Morning Show. Sleep is key to one's well-being. Healthy sleep also helps the body remain healthy and stave off diseases. But during the month of Ramadan, sleep behavior changes in fasting individuals. The average bedtime is significantly delayed and usually to socialize or perform acts of worship. Thus, people complain about insomnia, sleepiness and headaches during this month. What affects your sleep, how to adjust it during Ramadan, and how to avoid headaches will be discussed with our guest Sabina Brennan, a neuroscientist, a psychologist, and the author of Beating Brain Fog, 100 Days to a Younger Brain, and Brain Gym, which was just published a couple of days ago in the US. Good morning, Sabina Brennan, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Morning. To begin with, getting enough hours of shut-eye at night during Ramadan is a struggle for many Muslims that continue to work and study during this month while they are fasting. Can you tell us what really affects our sleep, Sabina?
Yeah, multiple factors affect sleep. And, you know, in order to have good quality sleep, you need regularity and routine. And Ramadan itself will completely disrupt your routine. So that number one is going to make it more difficult to sleep. Many factors like stress, during Ramadan, stress can impact on your ability to sleep, and that may be because you're trying to work or study while fasting. So the relationship between stress and sleep is very complicated, but one feeds the other. So you need sleep. When you sleep at night, there's certain chemicals are released that actually dissolve the stress hormones. So if you're not getting proper sleep, they stay active, and that in turn can stop you getting to sleep. Sleep reactivity as well. Like, not everybody is affected equally by stress, for example. Some people experience greater disruption to their sleep than others, and women actually are more likely to experience greater disruption. And it also depends on your genetics and whether there's a history of insomnia in your family. Exposure to light, our sleep rhythms, our circadian rhythms are primarily influenced by darkness and light, night and day. And that can kind of get disrupted during Ramadan also. Physical exercise, if you exercise too close to bedtime, or you become, as may be the case, if you have gatherings and people are socializing together, it can make your brain very active late at night and make it more difficult to get into sleep. Of course, food impacts on your ability to sleep. Eating, during Ramadan, if you're eating after sunset, it might be very close to when you're planning to sleep, and normally that's something that we would advise against. There are so many factors. Napping too close to the time you intend to go into your as long a sleep as you can. If you nap too close to that actually fools a chemical in your brain to thinking that you're not sleepy anymore, and it makes it more difficult to get into sleep. So there's so many factors.
All right. There are so many factors that do affect our sleep, and many people struggle with sleep deprivation, with insomnia in Ramadan and outside Ramadan. But what is the difference? What is the distinction between these two?
Yeah, sleep deprivation is really sort of a temporary thing, and particularly with the duration of Ramadan, if you're deprived of sleep even just one night, that can affect your performance the next day. Even just 4 nights of sleep deprivation can put your body into a pre-diabetic mode. So sleep deprivation can have considerable impacts, but it, generally speaking, is something that is temporary. Insomnia, Ramadan aside, as you mentioned, a lot of people experience insomnia outside of Ramadan. It really is about the difficulty initiating and maintaining sleep. It needs to occur sort of medically speaking or clinically speaking 3 times a week for at least 3 months for it to be diagnosed. Again, insomnia occurs more often in women and more often in older people than in younger people. And there's different types. There's sleep onset insomnia, insomnia, so people who have difficulty just getting to sleep, and then there's short sleep insomnia where people can actually get to sleep, but they seem to wake up during the night. So, I mean, it's really important if you have long-term insomnia to try and identify and treat the underlying cause, and introduce healthy sleep rituals. You know, a regular bedtime and regular waking time are critical. And then there are treatments, cognitive behavioral therapy, especially for insomnia, has good research evidence that it can help people to beat insomnia.
All right. And according to your expertise, Sabina, how to adjust sleep specifically during this holy month of Ramadan, and how to get good and healthy sleep?
Yeah, I mean, there's no denying it's challenging, given the nature of Ramadan. Some suggestions that I would make would be to prioritize sleep. You know, that is a way to take care of yourself. So make a conscious effort to find a balance between your social gatherings, the activities, prayer, and this self-care. I would, you know, try to your brain thrives on regularity, and that's what's being disrupted. So even though the timings of your sleep may change and your other routines, during Ramadan, if you could actually create a regular routine and say, you know, I'm going to have a light meal in the evening time, I'm going to pray or socialize, and then by this time I am going to get some sleep. And if you could possibly get some sleep, you know, 4 hours sleep between sunset and your last meal in the evening and the meal waking in the morning time, that would be fantastic. And also to maybe perhaps try and get another little bit of sleep after you've had that last meal before sunset. Napping can be very good also, because the thing is you've built up a sleep debt, and that has to be repaid so that you can function properly, so that your brain can function properly. And napping can be a very good way to do that. However, the duration and the timing of the nap are very important. So never nap for longer than about 15 minutes, or if you are going to nap longer than 15 minutes, make it for 90 minutes. And that's because of the nature of the sleep cycle. If you nap for just 15 minutes, you can feel the benefits. You'll feel less tired and more alert. And the reason that time is important is it's before you go into a deep sleep. If you sleep for 30 minutes, when you wake up, you'll actually feel worse because you're in the depths of sleep. That's why then a 90-minute cycle of a nap would also be beneficial, because it's a full cycle of a nap, of sleep, and you'll wake up feeling refreshed. So that's really important. And as I mentioned earlier, you know, the timing of that nap, for it not to be too close to when you're planning to have that longer sleep during the nighttime. And see if you can allow some calm down time before sleep, because, you know, if you've been very social or even, you know, active prior to sleep, that will impact on the quality of your sleep and your ability to get to sleep. And of course, what you eat is very important. So, you know, simple carbohydrates will actually only give you a quick burst of energy, and what you would be far better off doing is taking complex carbohydrates, and they will you know, support you throughout the day, rather than loading up in the evening time with a lot of sugars and heavy meals, etc. You would be far better off, because that will just interfere with sleep, and digestion will keep you awake. So yeah, managing what you eat and when you eat will also impact on your sleep.
All right. It is also common that people have mood swings, they get irritated, they usually have headaches when fasting. Are these related to poor sleep habits, and how to avoid these during Ramadan?
I mean, most probably, if we focus specifically on the holy month, it's you know, those mood swings, irritability, headaches, they're probably a consequence of a combination of fasting, dehydration, and disrupted sleep. But yes, disrupted sleep, it actually impacts on our brain function in a way that makes it difficult for us to disinhibit. So that means we we say the first thing that can come into our mind, and that can come across as, snappy or irritable or whatever. We can't filter. We don't have the energy to filter our information. We also struggle a little bit to identify other people's emotions when our sleep is disrupted. So we might misread situations, and again, that can come across that way. Headaches. The thing with headaches is, if you are somebody who, like myself actually, who experiences chronic headaches, I have migraine. The relationship between sleep and migraine is commonly known and understood, and too much sleep and too little sleep can bring about migraines. And so if you've already somebody who's prone to that, then if your sleep is being disrupted, that's actually going to make your headaches worse. I think hydration is critical. Brain health is my area, and that's what I'm interested in. And your brain is a very, very thirsty organ, and it doesn't do well without fluids. So during, between sunset and sunrise, it's really, really important to keep hydrating, preferably with water rather than sugary drinks, so that your brain doesn't become dehydrated during the day when you're fasting. And that will also improve your function, because if your brain is dehydrated, it's not going to be able to function properly.